Today's episode of Badass 2000, we continue our Jenvey ITB install. We're going to mock these up on the motor and see if we've got all the right parts for the fuel system. Peter ordered all the parts, so I'm guessing we're probably going to be missing a few things. All right, buddy, now that I made fun of you, the real work begins. And what are you doing there?
Well, we are starting off by mocking up our fuel system here. We've got this Turbo Smart EP04 fuel pressure regulator and a gauge. So we're gonna try to figure out where to put this because obviously space is at a premium here. And then it should be as simple as hooking up some AN fuel lines from Vibrant Performance, and we should have a fuel system done. Easier said than done though, because realistically, it's a pretty tough job actually.
A lot of fiddling.
It is, yeah. And I've already noticed that I forgot some fittings. So Dave, you were right.
Nailed it. And we're trying to figure out where to mount the fuel pressure regulator, right?
Yep.
We're kind of packed in here with...
Yeah, it's tight.
We've got the IBOC remote reservoirs, and we're putting catch cans down the front. So
yeah, and the ITBs are going to be here. Yeah. You kind of want this visible, but you can't mount it on the firewall here. So, you know, we'll figure it out. It's going to be a little bit of time.
All right.
After a lot of debate, we've decided to put our fuel pressure regulator right here. It may not be the most ideal spot, but at least we're going to be able to see the gauge, run our return line straight off of here, down into the side port, and then our fuel rail or fuel line return right off the back side and down. So this is going to be its home until somebody tells us that we've done it wrong.
Vibrant may be best known for their fabrication components like tubing and flanges, but they also have a wide range of steel and aluminum AN fittings suitable for oil, water, coolant, or as in our case, fuel. As you can see, they also offer braided flexible race hoses, so we were able to source a complete fuel line setup for our ITB conversion, or at least as complete as Pete's brain could muster up.
This here is the OEM Honda fuel feed line, and what we've decided to do is we're gonna cut the hard line up here where it's the 5/16 hard pipe and put a adapter from Vibrant Performance, which basically takes this hard line to an AN fitting, and then we'll be able to run another flex line that we're gonna make up to the fuel rail, and that should take care of our fuel feed line. That. Okay, so I'm gonna use this hard line as an example to show you guys how these Vibrant AN fittings work, the adapter fitting. So I slide the female end, I guess, onto the hard line. Then I take this little brass fitting and it slides over the hard line here, like that. And then this all comes together here. And when you tighten this together, bam, and fitting ready. So I'm gonna repeat this on our actual fuel hard line. All right. Good. That's done. Here's the reality of trying to build a custom fuel system, and that is that you're not gonna have the proper fittings. I ordered a whole bunch thinking we'd be covered off, but unfortunately, what I learned now is I'm supposed to have a 90-degree fitting here and female to female, and I don't have it because we originally thought that we wouldn't be able to use the OEM fuel line here, but now that we can, I'm gonna have to reorder a 90 to 90 fitting, and we should be good to go on the fuel feed side. So I'm gonna leave this, and me and Dave are gonna start on the return side.
So we're using the old micrometer technique on figuring out how long this hose needs to be from the fuel rail to the fuel pressure regulator. Literally, we've just put it in place
temporarily on the fitting on the fuel rail and
Bam.
running it down to the fuel pressure regulator. Why can't I say fuel pressure
Regulator. All right, we're marking it there. Black on black.
That's right.
It's a smart thing to do.
That's right.
Now comes the fun stuff. Cutting this.
Vibrant sells a hose shear tool for cleanly cutting race hose to length, but as you can see, a cutting disc also does a decent job of it.
So we've rated Ken's toolbox for his cool tools, which is a pretty clever little device. It's basically a hard plastic clamp that you put your AN fitting into, your hose end fitting into, and then it allows you to put it in the vise here and feed the hose into it. So the fitting is in there now, and you simply clamp it into your bench vise. Comme ça. It's nice heavy duty stuff, so you can clamp it down pretty tight. And then you take your hose end and you literally just push it in and turn. And it gives you a really strong, secure way of feeding this hose into the fitting. We'll pretend that's good enough for now. Pop it open. Fitting on hose, just like that. Ken actually wrote a really good story about how to build your own fuel lines on the website, so check that out. We'll put it in the description below. And the next step is to mark with some tape along the base of where the fitting goes into the hose. And the reason for that is when we put the other end of the fitting in, we don't want the hose to slip out of this fitting. So the tape basically just gives us a visual marker of if the hose is being pushed out. So with the tape in place, we put it in this handy dandy Mr. Gasket tool that Ken has. We're rating all of his tools today. He's busy at the hospital saving lives and we're building fuel lines. We will get that down in there. And that just gives us a secure spot to screw the other end of the fitting in. So next we insert this male end of the fitting into the female part in the vise. And if you know anything about inserting male ends into female ends, you need a little lube. So just put a little on there and get this party started. We're gonna use a wrench, obviously, once it's threaded in by hand. So that male end is actually gonna go down inside the hose, and I'll start putting upward pressure on the hose once I get the wrench on there to try to help prevent the hose from coming out of the fitting. All right, I don't want to strip the fitting either, because we want these fittings to look pretty. All right, that's pretty tight.
Tight is good.
Like a toiga. Voila! Vibrant aluminum hose ends. Vibrant flex line. All good.
Look at that.
Pretty good. It's actually gonna fit very nice.
Now, unfortunately, we can't hook it up to fuel pressure regulator. And why is that, Dave?
Well, because we didn't put a fitting in the fuel pressure regulator.
Why didn't we
yet.
put a fitting in there?
Why didn't we?
Yeah, because my dumb self, ordered the wrong fittings.
Oh, that's the -6 to -4 that you ordered instead of the -6 to -6?
That's correct.
Aha.
So we're going to be making a trip back to the old Vibrant Performance shop to get some more fittings.
Well, this is the reality of building custom fuel lines.
But with that said, we have 95% of our fuel system done here. We just got to run a return line off of the fuel pressure regulator to the hard return line.
Yep.
The OEM one.
So one more line and we're good to go.
We are just installing the vibrant fitting for the return line, and we put some Teflon tape on it. Not really sure if we're supposed to do that or not, but we figured it can't do any harm.
That's right.
So, my thick gloves on. Hopefully I don't cross thread it. Seems like it's going in there pretty good. So I'll just tighten that down with a wrench. Hopefully we will have a fuel tight seal. Sweet sound effects, bro.
Oh God. I don't think it's gonna make it over the hump here. Not me wearing these gloves.
Really?
That's it. Now we just gotta clamp it.
All right, that's easy. For those of you wondering, this is what Peter looks like while routing the fuel return line. We literally just bought some hose at Canadian Tire, where all real tuners buy their parts. It's just a rubber fuel line in the length we needed, and that's all she took really. Just plug it onto the hard line on the chassis end now and clamp it in place.
Aside from a few fittings that we're missing, I think we can officially say our fuel system is complete, right, Dave?
Yeah, I think it's a wrap.
Yeah, we still need to get some injectors, which we'll show you in a bit. So we're moving on to the next part of this, and that's going to be plumbing the vacuum lines into the Jenvey ITBs, because we didn't realize we actually need to do that to include a brake booster. We need a source for the map sensor for the fuel pressure regulator, so you need to have vacuum, and to do that means tapping the runners of the Jenvey ITBs. It's time to drill some holes. And why are we drilling holes on the backside of our ITBs? Well, that's to install these vibrant pneumatic fittings. And the reason we're installing these is we need to get some type of vacuum source over to our distribution block. I'm gonna drill some holes here, put these fittings in, and last but not least, I also have to put this water temperature sensor. I have to drill a hole into the water neck. So lots of drilling to go, and yeah, hopefully this is gonna turn out well for us. Otherwise, I ruined a very expensive piece of metal here.
After marking the center of the runners, I drilled the holes in stages, starting off with a small drill bit and increasing the size slowly to get the straightest and cleanest hole possible, which is critical for thread tapping.
Well,
That's it.
that's it. Now,
Time to tap that.
tap, tap, tap. Thread tap.
PT's our shop tapping expert. Nobody knows how to tap that quite like PT.
Trying. And the moment of truth.
Threading in nice.
Oh yeah. Like butter. Look at that.
Coolant
Yeah.
tank sensor installed.
Well, I should put some thread sealant on it, but
Probably,
it's good.
but still, it's nice to see it go in.
Yep.
All right.
Now, the art of tapping. Gotta finesse this. Once it grabs, it looks square. There we go. Oh, smooth. You ever feel like you run into a bit of a nick or a knot? Back it off just a bit. Here we go, a little bit more. There we go. Now I feel it getting tight. And we're out. Oh yeah.
Last one, Pete. Don't mess it up.
3 out of 4 wouldn't be bad, right?
Good batting average.
Yeah. But not for this. Gotta make sure these are perfect. Oh yeah. By now, many of you may be wondering, how does this exactly work? Well, the vacuum tubing, which is also supplied by Vibrant, goes into one of these fittings, locks itself in, see? That's locked in. Then we've got this fancy Vibrant vacuum distribution tube, which the vacuum fitting, or the tube, will plug into. We're gonna run all 4 into this, bam, and all of a sudden we've got vacuum in here. We can plumb our map sensor, fuel pressure regulator, and our brake booster. So that's all coming up on the next episode, and so is our throttle body linkage, which I think is gonna take a little bit of work as well. So far, this has turned out to be a little bit more difficult than we expected, but me and Dave, we're gonna work through it and show you how to get it done. I picked the one that's possible to line up. It's hard to know. It's going in, or whether I'm cross-threading it, you know?
Don't cross-thread your brand new threads.